Finally, once again, we are converging here to understand furtherance of this particular current electricity chapter. In fact, in this particular part, we will be taking care of some of the intermittent things like, let us take a look at them. First and foremost thing, we'll just take a look at cause of resistance, how resistance is caused in case of a conductor, why every conductor will have certain amount of resistance to electric current. So that we'll just try to understand. And then next we'll talk about one of the important parametric property of a particular conductor, or it can also be called as the factor which governs the motion of charge carriers. That factor is mobility factor. So, or mobility of charge carriers, that will just take care of. And then we'll talk about Ohm's law in vector form. We'll just try to uh, extend this particular Ohm's law in terms of vector quantities. How we can understand that? That we'll just try to understand. Okay, and then we'll talk about variation of resistivity with the temperature. This is once again most important question as far as your examination point of view is concerned. Next one, last but not the least, we'll just be talking about variation of resistance with temperature. Okay, so these are the concepts that we will be covering today. Fine. So once again I'll repeat, uh, friends, as we are covering these sessions with a lot of pain, so I request each one of you to prepare thoroughly well by observing or by watching these videos, uh, and these video lectures will act to you as one of the base builders. Fine. Okay, now let's move on to the first part, that is cause of resistance. We'll just take a look at that. So now, cause of resistance, usually if you just remember my first session and the second session, in those two sessions I had told you regarding the motion of charge carrying particles under the action of electric field. Remember that when charge carrying electrons, when they start moving inside a conductor in the opposite direction to the applied electric field, they are called as what? Drifted electrons. Now these drifted electrons, they eventually collide with the neighboring electrons as well as neighboring neutral atoms, as well as they will be colliding with the ions or ionic core, right? So if you just recall back that concept, so according to this particular concept only, we can understand collision of free drifted electrons inside a conductor with ions and neutral atoms causes the resistance in a conductor. So it's very simple way of understanding. Whenever an electron collides with an atom, neutral atom, or when it collides with ionic core or ions, right? Under that situation, what is happening over there? If you remember my session, second session, there I told you that the velocity of the electrons decreases. Correct? So when velocity is decreasing, is it not the deceleration of electrons? If there is a deceleration, definitely there is an opposition to this particular movement of the electrons. Whenever there is opposition to the movement of the electrons, this will clearly give rise to what? Opposition to the electric current, because movement of electrons is going to provide us what? The electric current. Do you agree on that? So accordingly, I can comfortably say that whenever the motion of electrons is decelerated, this clearly indicates that this is going to cause what? Opposition to the electric current. So very clearly, what is that cause? It is the cause that is due to what? Collision of electrons, charge carrying electrons with ions and neutral atoms, right? So hence, according to this particular concept, we also should recall back our second session. There I told you number of collisions whenever it increases. the relaxation time becomes what? Small. Is it not? Because if there is more frequent collision, if the collision is more, right, then definitely the frequency of collision is high. Whenever there is higher frequency of collision, the relaxation time or the time interval between two successive collisions will become what? Small. So accordingly, the relaxation time tau will decrease. So by the virtue of that, we also know that as resistivity is given by m by ne square tau, right? So clearly resistivity rho and tau, both of them are inversely proportional to each other. So that means if relaxation time decreases, resistivity will increase. Correct? If resistivity increases, then we should remember that resistance R is equal to rho L by A. For a given length and area of a conductor, if resistivity is increasing, definitely the resistance will also increase. This is how we can understand regarding the cause of resistance. So we must remember that. What all things we must remember? When the number of collisions of these free electrons inside a conductor increases, the relaxation time decreases, and whenever there is a decrease in the relaxation time, as relaxation time is inversely proportional to resistivity, the resistivity will increase, right? So accordingly, hence when the number of collisions increases, the resistivity will increase, and thus the opposition to the current will also increase. This I have already explained to you, right? So this is the approach that we are supposed to remember, right? Okay, I suppose this is clear. So shall we move on to the next part? Fine. We shall talk about the next intermittent concept or a physical quantity related to that particular conductor only. It is mobility of charge carriers. In simple, it is also called as mobility of electrons or mobility of charge carriers or mobility factor. Okay, so these are some other way of expressing mobility of a charge carrier, but here we'll talk it to be as what? Mobility only. I'll be calling it to be frequently as mobility or electron mobility, right? So now, what is mobility of charge carriers? So whenever we talk about the movement of charge carriers, okay, then the motion of charge carrying electrons will establish electric current inside the conductor. Fine. So this particular concept or this particular theory tells us that this is connected to the motion. So hence mobility of charge carriers is connected to movement of the electrons. So electrons will come into action or will be moving inside a conductor. When they will be moving inside a conductor? Whenever there is an applied electric field. So thus, by the virtue of this approach, with this common sense, we can comfortably define mobility as the mobility of a charge carrier is the drift velocity acquired by it in a unit electric field. Fine. So what is mobility of charge carrier? It is the mobility of a charge carrier is the drift velocity acquired by the electron or by the charge carrier in a unit electric field, or in a very simple way, is it not drift velocity per unit electric field? Correct. So hence we can comfortably write it as mu is equal to Vd by E. Fine. So and also remember that drift velocity is given by small e capital E tau by m. So this we have already seen in my previous discussion, right? So according to this, we can comfortably define mobility also as what? E into tau divided by m. I hope this particular approach is clear to you. Fine. So this is what we are supposed to understand. Fine. So mu is equal to E tau by m. Fine. Now let's move ahead to our next part of. So what is mobility of a charge carrier in terms of physical property? That we'll just try to understand. Now in this part we'll define its SI unit. Okay, so SI unit of mobility, it can be defined in three different ways. Okay, first definition I'll be giving in terms of electric field being expressed as volt per meter. Whenever electric field is expressed in terms of volt per meter, okay, under that situation I'll be in a position to understand the mobility's SI unit given by meter square per volt per second, and its derivation I have already shown on the screen. I hope it is clear. Fine. Now second way of SI unit defining would be if we express electric field E in terms of Newton per coulomb. This is second unit of electric field, Newton per coulomb. Fine. So in terms of Newton per coulomb, if we define, then it becomes coulomb meter per Newton per second. This is second unit in SI. Okay. Then third one, we will define it in terms of atomic basis. So it is based on E tau by m equation. So accordingly, it is coulomb second per kg. Or this is right. Okay, so I hope these three things are clear to you. Now let us talk about our next part. Now relationship between electric current and electron mobility. Fine. Now when I talk about electric current, there were many definitions or many relations, but one of the most important relation that we have derived was I is equal to NEA VD. So if we just consider this approach and definition of mobility in terms of VD divided by E, okay, we can arrive at a relationship between electric current and mobility. Remember, mu is equal to Vd by E, and this Vd by E is going to provide me what? Drift velocity Vd is equal to mu into E. Correct? So accordingly, I can very easily give this as my first step. I hope this is clear. Next, we also know that I is equal to NEAVD. When I is equal to NEAVD, if we are talking about this particular relation, in this relation, if I substitute for VD in from this particular expression, then I'll be getting the required relation. Am I right? Fine. So now let's go ahead and substitute VD in current equation. If we just substitute VD in current equation, what we are obtaining? We are obtaining I is equal to NEA mu into E. So this is the required relationship that we must remember. Fine. So now in this part we'll be talking in terms of derivation of Ohm's law in vector form. Now previously Ohm's law, what we had defined, it was in terms of V, I and R, these three factors, right? So V, I and R, all three are what? Scalar. So it was in scalar form. Now let us take a look at vector form of this Ohm's law. Okay, in order to do that, firstly we'll define or recall back drift velocity equation. Drift velocity vector Vd, it can be written as minus E vector E into tau divided by m, where this negative sign is given as a charge on the electron, as you can notice here. Fine. So negative sign indicates the charge of the electron. Remember our equation in scalar form was what? Vd is equal to small e capital E into tau divided by m. In that, if I substitute minus E as charge, then it will provide me what? Direction for drift velocity. Thus it will become what? A vector equation. Fine. So this is what we are learning now. Now this is our first step. In the second step, we'll define current density. Now current density J is equal to, I know that it is I divided by A. Remember that J is equal to I by A. So accordingly, I is equal to NEAVD. In that NEAVD, if I substitute I as NEAVD divided by area, then area and area will cancel. Then I will be obtaining the equation as what? J is equal to minus NE into vector VD. Now, again, I am making use of negative sign as charge on the electron. Fine. So this is vector form. Remember friends, so in vector form we must define the direction. So hence I am mentioning minus sign here. I hope it is clear. Okay, this is our second step. Now in this particular second step, we'll substitute first step. So according to this, we can say vector J will become equal to n into E square into tau divided by m. So this is one of the intermittent part that we have obtained. Fine. Ne square tau divided by m. Fine. So now you tell me or recall back, what is m by ne square tau? M by ne square tau, we had defined it to be resistivity when we were proving Ohm's law. Remember in my previous discussion? So in that we had defined m by ne square tau as the resistivity. So accordingly, if I take a look at this particular part, Ne square tau by m, is it not reciprocal of resistivity? So hence we can very clearly write this to be Ne square tau by m is equal to 1 by rho. 1 by rho. Rho is what? Resistivity. And resistivity, 1 by resistivity is conductivity, which we had learnt it to be as sigma. Remember. So hence Ne square tau by m is nothing but 1 by rho or sigma. Right. So accordingly, we'll get vector J is equal to 1 by rho into vector E or sigma into vector E. Fine. So this is a very beautiful vector equation that we've obtained for Ohm's law. I suppose this approach is clear to you. Okay. Now let us move ahead to the next. Variation of resistivity. Now, resistivity, how does it vary? That we have to understand. Fine. So, as we were remembering or recalling, resistivity depends upon relaxation time. Relaxation time, it depends upon number of collisions. Remember? Fine. Previously we had discussed it. Okay. So, according to that, we can say whenever temperature of a particular conductor increases, when temperature increases, under that situation we tend to see that the collision between two electrons, that will also become more. No, its frequency will increase because temperature has increased. Obviously electrons will gain what? Kinetic energy, and gain in the kinetic energy will make them to collide more frequently. So thus, due to more frequent collisions, the relaxation time decreases. So this fact we have to remember. So let me just consider this famous equation. Rho is equal to m by n square tau, where rho is resistivity, m is mass of the electron, n is number density of the electrons, E is nothing but the charge associated with the electron, and tau is the relaxation time. So in this particular equation, resistivity is inversely proportional to relaxation time. This we have already discussed during the beginning of this particular part. Okay, so very clearly we can understand resistivity and relaxation time are inversely proportional to each other, right? So accordingly, here we can say the relaxation time decreases as the number of collisions increase, right? I was mentioning to you earlier, number of collisions will become more when temperature increases because kinetic energy of the electrons will increase. So accordingly, number of collisions will increase, and due to this, what happens? The relaxation time decreases. Thus we can say with the increase in temperature, the relaxation time decreases. Fine. Hence, when relaxation time decreases, what will happen to the resistivity? It will increase because resistivity is inversely proportional to relaxation time. So due to that reason, we can comfortably say that resistivity, it will increase. Resistivity increases with increase in temperature. Fine. So this fact you must remember. I suppose this is clear. Fine. Now let's concentrate on to. So when we are saying that variation of resistivity with the temperature under this particular part will concentrate firstly on metals. Okay, because metals are the most important conductors that we are using in current electricity. So hence we'll just try to understand how does resistivity vary with the temperature in case of metals. Okay, in case of metals, the number density of the electrons is almost, number density n of electrons is almost independent of temperature. It will not depend on temperature because number density of conduction electrons inside conductors, metallic conductors, is very large. So because of that reason, even though there is variation in temperature, nothing will happen, almost nothing will happen to the number density. Number density will neither increase nor decrease. It will remain almost constant. So this fact we have to remember. Then in case of metallic conductors, if the rise in temperature is not affecting number density, then resistivity will change due to what then? What is the other factor that we have? If you remember the equation, rho is equal to m by ne squared tau, in that n is ruled out, charge on electrons is constant, mass of electrons is also constant, nothing can be done about them. Then the only physical quantity that is left out here is relaxation time. Thus resistivity in case of metallic conductors, it will vary due to what? Variation in relaxation time. This fact you have to remember. So hence we should mention this. Hence resistivity of metals depends upon variation in relaxation time. Okay, and we already have concentrated on this, as resistivity is inversely proportional to relaxation time, and relaxation time is inversely proportional to absolute temperature or normal temperature. Then clearly resistivity must be directly proportional to temperature, right? So if you just recall these proportionalities, I think that will help us in writing the variation. So accordingly, thus resistivity in metals increases with increase in temperature. Fine. So thus we can understand. Thus we can comfortably say that the variation of resistivity is directly proportional to the temperature of that particular conductor. So hence we can say in metals the resistivity varies with the temperature according to this equation. Okay, so here rho is equal to rho naught into 1 plus alpha rho into T minus T naught. This is the equation that we have. Okay, so here rho, alpha rho is nothing but the temperature coefficient of resistivity. Okay, and rho naught are resistivity at T and T naught degree. Okay, T and T naught temperature. Then T and T naught are the temperatures called as a higher temperature and lower reference temperature. Okay, so T is higher reference temperature, T naught is lower reference temperature of that particular conductor. I hope this is clear. Fine. So accordingly, finally here alpha rho we have understood, correct? Then what is alpha rho? That we have to define. So alpha rho can be defined as rho minus rho naught divided by rho naught into T minus T naught. If you just go back to that previous equation that we have derived for the that we have mentioned for the variation of resistivity, in that equation if you just convert it, you will arrive at this particular equation that we have listed here. Okay, so accordingly comfortably we can say alpha rho is nothing but rho minus rho naught divided by rho naught into T minus T naught. So hence alpha rho can be defined as what? Alpha rho can be defined as the change in resistivity per unit original resistivity per degree Celsius or per Kelvin rise in temperature. Okay, so this is just similar to your last year's definition, first PUC. See here, change in resistivity per unit original resistivity, then per degree Celsius or per Kelvin rise in temperature. So if you just notice these three in tandem in the equation, then you will understand how easily this definition can be remembered. Okay, fine. So now let us take a look at variation of resistivity in case of copper. Now this particular graph what I am indicating here, this is variation of resistivity for copper in case of copper. Okay, so as you can notice here, it is non-linear. It is non-linear up to certain temperature level. Okay, up to certain temperature level it is non-linear, and suddenly it becomes a little bit amount of linearity it will show, but its variation is not linear at all further, right? So hence in case of copper, the variation of resistivity is almost non-linear, and it is not starting from zero. Remember this. Then we'll just take a look at next kind of alloy. It is nichrome. Nichrome alloy, as you can notice here, it is remarkably linear here. See, the graph is linear, whereas in case of copper it was non-linear. Just look at the difference between these two, and the variation of resistivity is not that deep in case of nichrome, whereas in case of copper it will vary from least value and it will reach to larger value. So this is one particular thing that you have to remember. And if you notice here, the variation from 0 to 200 Kelvin or 0 to 400 Kelvin, in this range the variation is almost straight line. That means resistivity is always directly proportional to temperature, whereas in case of copper, the temperature when it varies at 0 Kelvin, there is a very small amount of resistivity inside copper, and as the temperature increases from 0 Kelvin and moves further and further, its resistivity value will also increase, but not linearly. See how great difference we can notice in between copper as a metal and nichrome as an alloy. Okay, now let's move ahead to. So in this part, we just need to take a look at semiconductors and insulators. So in case of semiconductors and insulators, remember variation depends on both number density of electrons and relaxation time, or their combination. If you remember m by ne square tau, in that equation n into tau product, okay, product of n into tau is definitely inversely proportional to resistivity, right? So that product as such will vary, so that resistivity will vary. And in semiconductors and insulators, here what happens is, it is given as rho of T is equal to rho naught into e raised to Eg by kb into T. Fine. So here this is one exponential equation that you have to remember. Fine. This is the exponential equation, and in this particular equation, let us know what exactly all these things are. Okay. Eg is called as forbidden energy gap. Okay. So if you recall back your high school days, semiconductors, in that semiconductors you would have learnt about conduction band and valence band and forbidden energy gap. Now the gap between conduction band and valence band, that particular gap I call it as forbidden energy gap. Okay. In case of insulators, the forbidden energy gap is very large, and in case of semiconductors, the gap between conduction band and valence band is moderately low, and in case of metallic conductors, forbidden energy gap is never present in between conduction band and valence band. They overlap almost. Fine. So anyways, regarding this you will be learning more in depth in semiconductors chapter. Fine. And next, KB is Boltzmann constant. Boltzmann constant, and Boltzmann constant is given by 1.380649 into 10 raised to minus 23 joule per Kelvin. Okay. So what does this equation indicates? This equation indicates that in case of semiconductors and insulators, the resistivity will decrease with the increase in temperature. This you have to remember. Okay. Now over here, why resistivity decreases? It is very clearly because in case of semiconductors and insulators, the number density, even though it might increase due to rise in temperature, but the relaxation time will be proportionately decreasing or changing such that the product between tau and n, it will become very large. So due to that reason, what happens? The resistivity will become small. Okay. So this fact you please remember. So once again, let me repeat. The resistivity of semiconductors and insulators, it will decrease with increase in temperature. Fine. Okay. Next part. So in this part, we will be focusing majorly on the graph. Okay. Now in case of semiconductors, the resistivity and temperature graph, it shows a rectangular hyperbola here. Fine. So this clearly indicates resistivity is inversely proportional to absolute temperature in case of semiconductors, and it is the same case in case of insulators as well. Okay. But the variation graph is a bit different, that we need not look into. But here remember this graph for semiconductor, because in your exam they will ask you to draw the graphs semiconductor as well as copper and nichrome. Okay, fine. We shall talk about variation of resistance with the temperature. So this will be our last part of discussion that we'll be having today. And here resistance of a conductor varies directly as its temperature, and this variation is given by R is equal to R naught into 1 plus alpha delta T. Now why are we saying like this? Because we know that R is equal to rho L by A. That means resistance is directly proportional to resistivity. So I can very easily write this equation by following the resistivity equation. Fine. Do you agree on this? Okay. So accordingly, we should remember in this particular equation, what is alpha? Alpha is temperature coefficient of resistance. Okay. So alpha can also be written as R minus R naught divided by R naught into T minus T naught, just like the same case we had written in case of resistivity, right? So it is just similar to that. Hence we can define alpha as what? Alpha can be defined as the change in resistance per unit original resistance per degree Celsius rise in the temperature. Fine. So this is about variation of resistance that we have taken a look upon. Okay. And now nextly we'll take a look at how does it vary, that will show graphically. Fine. So as you can notice here, the graph, I'm trying to load it, just wait. Fine. Now if you just observe this graph, resistance versus temperature graph, the resistance at 0 degree Celsius is always non-zero. So there is no graph of any particular conductor which will have the graph originating from 0. Okay, so it is non-zero at 0 degree Celsius. Okay, and it will have certain constant value R naught at 0 degree Celsius. Okay, So that particular thing we must remember. Okay, and as you can notice here, the variation of resistance with temperature is a linear graph. It's a straight line graph. That means with the temperature rise, the resistance of conductor will increase. This is what we are trying to find. Okay, so I suppose today's session was clear to you all, and in our next particular part we'll be dealing with more interesting things on current electricity. Okay, so thank you all. Once again, I just want you to make you remember that whatever we are covering under these sessions, please be thorough with them. Uh, Please watch our videos repeatedly, and for any doubts kindly contact us. Okay, see you and have a great time. Stay safe, stay at home. Okay, see you soon with my next session. Chalo. Thank you.